And Labour is being accused of pork barrel politics by promising to stump up $680 million to bring light rail from Auckland's central city to Mt Roskill. The proposal to fund half the light rail system comes as candidates battle it out for the Mt Roskill by-election seat that was vacated by Phil Goff when he became Auckland's mayor. The Labour leader Andrew Little is with us in the Wellington studio. Morning.
Good morning.
So if it looks like pork barrel politics, and many would say it would smell like pork barrel politics, is it?
No, it's not. This is a project that is already on a plan. It happens to be in a plan that runs from 2028 to 2038. We've got a significant congestion problem on those arterial roads in Auckland now. Transport is a major issue in the Mt Roskill by-election. Voters are expecting parties to come up with something, an idea, a vision about how traffic congestion issues are going to be dealt with. We've come up with ours.
Well, it's not coming up with an idea, it's pulling one forward,
isn't
it?
We've pulled it forward, but we have a practical solution and a proposal to put to voters in Mt Roskill now, and indeed to anybody else who cares to look at and want solutions to Auckland's growing congestion problem.
It does seem like an extraordinary throwdown as an election bribe.
Transport and traffic congestion is a major issue in the Mt Roskill by-election. Of course we're going to talk about it, and of course voters will want us, well, what is your idea? What are you going to do to fix it? This issue about light rail from the centre of the city to Mt Roskill it was a subject of fierce debate during the recent local body elections. It's been championed and talked about by various people over several years, including politicians of various stripes in Auckland. So nothing unusual about this. It is just a specific practical policy. Bring forward this program and say, let's get onto it now because we have to.
If it's such a cracking idea, though, why only as far as Mt Roskill, and why announce that during the by-election?
That's where the critical delay is, that from the centre of the city to that kind of suburban centre, you go up Dominion Road and it is absolutely chocker most times of the week. And it's not going to be fixed by building more roads, it's not going to be fixed by putting more buses on it. There's only one way, and that is a focus on public transport, which is why we've come up with this.
OK, why do you think you've had this sort of pushback, though, from Phil Goff? Did you think he would back you on this?
I don't see it as pushback from Phil Goff. We've said...
Well, is that fair, though? Because, I mean, he did sort of more or less say, well, I don't see why we should fund it.
We've said that part of the proposal is the taxpayer, every other New Zealand taxpayer will fund half of it. I think that's what New Zealand taxpayers would be prepared to tolerate. But, the biggest users of this will be Auckland residents. So Auckland is going to have to come up with it. We know that the issue about Auckland Council, its finances, is an issue. But part of the negotiations with Auckland Council will be what funding mechanisms are there or could we create to enable them to fund their side of it.
But just to lay this out, so it's the Mt Roskill by-election. This was Phil Goff's seat, so it's the one that he's vacating.
Yep.
He's now the mayor of Auckland.
Yep.
You proposed this in the by-election, and he's not actually coming back to give you 100% there, is he?
He is very supportive of light rail because he campaigned on that as part of his mayoral election. He wasn't the only mayoral candidate to do so. So he understands.
Did you talk to him about it before the announcement?
Yes. He understands the case for light rail. He's doing what you would expect the Auckland mayor to do and say, let's see if we can get central government to pay as much of this as we can, and then, maybe the Auckland ratepayer doesn't have to. So I fully understand that. I think we both agree light rail is the only practical solution now to congestion in those arterial routes in Auckland. Now we have to sit down and work out a way to fund that, and that's part of the negotiations we would have with the Auckland Council, is what are the mechanisms we can use to fund this.
By throwing this in with as much money and funding as this would require, doesn't that underline how high the stakes are for Labour in this particular by-election?
Well, it underscores that we take nothing for granted. We're working hard to win this seat. I mean, I think from the National Party's point of view, they've got two stories they're trying to tell now. One is that we're an absolute shoo-in to win it, and the other is that we're desperate for it. And they've got to get their story straightened up.
It is must-win, though, isn't it, for Labour?
We are running a campaign to win the seat, and we are going to make every effort. We've got a good on-the-ground team running a ground campaign. We are working very hard, and we will continue to work very hard to get every vote we can. We take nothing for granted.
But for Labour, it is must-win.
We are in it to win. We are in every fight to win, and we are going to fight to win Mt Roskill. There are important issues here. The issue about traffic congestion, transport, is absolutely vital. Voters wanted to hear about that. They also wanted to hear about crime and our response to rising crime rates. They want to hear about our responses to housing. We've got responses to each of those things. The National Party might actually want to come up with a few ideas for once, rather than just attack us on practical, sensible ideas that we're coming up with.
If it's a very close-run thing, or if indeed Labour does lose this election, what does it say for your leadership?
what it says about my leadership is that we're running a campaign to focus on winning Mt Roskill. I don't think, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. We are running a good campaign. We've got an outstanding candidate, lives in the electorate, knows the issues. He's the one coming up with great ideas to put to the electorate. We are running this as you would expect any by-election campaign. We're in it to win.
Thank you very much for your time, Andrew Little, the Labour Party leader. It's 14 minutes to 8.